Hello there and welcome to the Leicester versus Brighton review as well as the Tottenham versus West Ham United review, coupling them together because there's a lot of videos I've got to make today and I'm not going to have time to do both of them separately. We're going to look at Leicester versus Brighton first of all, and in the preview for this one I said, could Brighton possibly frustrate Leicester and get a result? And while it's only a draw, yes, they could have. And this is actually still a good result for Brighton. This is still a really good result for Brighton. It's not the greatest result for Leicester when you've got the likes of Chelsea, Man United over their shoulders and all of their fan bases literally going, we can still all get third, we can go get third. Man United fans are vocally saying that they could go get third. And what I want to quickly look at as well is the table for these guys. Chelsea are only 4 points behind. Man United are 9 points behind. Still got a lot of ground to make up as well. If Chelsea win their game that they play, I think tomorrow, then they only go 1 point behind Leicester. This being third place isn't a given for Leicester. It really isn't. Brighton, on the other hand, to take 1 point further away from the relegation zone, with results as well, I think, going their way last night as well. But Brighton, to be fair, I think they had a penalty. Was given. Aaron Connolly got took down, but Maupay, the man who was the pantomime villain against Arsenal, it was a really weak penalty. It was a bad penalty in my opinion. His run up for it just wasn't the most convincing run up of all time. It just wasn't. And then when he hit the ball, he didn't hit it with any real power. Tried to sort of place it, but like not into a corner. Just sort of like placed it into the like middle left, if you will. And when you're coming up against a goalkeeper like Kasper Schmeichel, they're going to save them all day long. They really will. Other than that, though, apart from possession, a fairly even game. Obviously, you know what you're going to get with the Brendan Rodgers team. Possession and a lot of passes. But just take a good look at the other stats as well. Like, they're quite close together. All right, take stuff like corner kicks and fouls and stuff like that. But, big chances fell to Brighton. And big chances missed fell to Brighton as well. Shots inside the box, all this sort of stuff. It was a very equal game, and if anything, that should worry Leicester, in my opinion, because Leicester are quite clearly the bigger quality team, the higher quality team, the players that they've got on the pitch. And you look at that lineup with Maddison and Didi. Nampalys Mendy, I've not seen a great deal of, but he did okay by all accounts yesterday. Damari Gray, Johnny Evans, Soyuncu, Ben Chilwell. I don't know James Justin very well, but he seems to be doing okay as a fill-in for Pereira. Schmeichel in goal, Jamie Vardy up front, Iheanacho as well, and then the people that they can bring on like Harvey Barnes. Ayoze Perez didn't do a great deal. T. Elements. You look at this Leicester team, and before it you might be thinking, this Leicester team have got to be absolutely smacking these guys left, right and centre. And it just doesn't happen. So when I preview this game and I said, could they frustrate them? It's because that's what Brighton are really good at doing. I have compared, and I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way, but I have compared Brighton to prime Tony Pulis Stoke, because they will frustrate you, they will get physical with you, they'll make your game very disjointed. So when you have like a fast and free-flowing attacking football of Leicester, you want to disrupt that if you're a team that isn't of their quality. And that is exactly what Brighton did. They frustrated them, they got in their faces, made some fouls, picked up, I think they only picked up, 2 yellows on that game as well, but even so, they were making tactical fouls, and they just got all up in their faces, didn't really let them get going a great deal, even though Leicester had the majority of the possession. They just couldn't get going, and they've really, if they didn't have to look over their shoulders already, they really do need to look over their shoulders now, badly, because Chelsea especially are right behind them, and they'll be wanting to get into that third position as well, just to finish as high up as they can this season, and finish the season strongly. Same with Man United though. They drew against Tottenham in their last game out, but they will have full belief that if they can put a run together, and with Chelsea also, not necessarily performing at the highest heights that they can recently, that they might actually be able to overtake both of these teams. Leicester have got to be really, really careful at this moment in time. But it takes them away, from Watford, takes them away from, they're 6 points now. in between them and 18th place Bournemouth. So Brighton are actually doing pretty well. That's a positive result for them. Anyway, we're going to move on, and we're going to go on to Tottenham versus West Ham. And genuinely, I know that this game finished 2-0. I know it finished 2-0. We all know it finished 2-0. Heung-min Son, no, he didn't. His goal was cancelled out by VAR. But Tomas Soucek put it in the back of the net as an own goal, put it in the back of the net for Tottenham, and then Harry Kane got a goal on his return, and it was a good goal as well. But the defensive line for West Ham was just abysmal. It really was. And anyway, so I know it finished 2-0, but this was one of those games where I really struggled not to turn it off. Like, there were plenty of chances in this game as well. Plenty of chances. You know, when you look at the total shots for both teams combined, 25 shots in total, but for some reason, it was just such a flat game. It was just a really, really flat game. Wasn't very good to watch. And the two goals just kept... I predicted it was going to be a 1-0 win for Tottenham. And the two goals, like, the first one is a comedy of errors by Soucek, putting it in the back of his own net. And then Harry Kane just sprints in behind a very, 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 like, stupidly high line of West Ham. And he just slots it past the goalkeeper. Both the goals for Tottenham were basically given to them. They didn't have to work very, very hard for them. They controlled possession, didn't do a great deal with it despite all of the shots. They only had 4 shots on target, whereas West Ham had 2 shots on target. It was just one of those games. It was just one of those games, you know what I mean? Now, if we go look at the table and see what it means for both teams, West Ham are in a dire situation. If Aston Villa or Bournemouth get a win in their games, whoever they play next, then West Ham are firmly in the bottom 3. And not that their fans wouldn't have been, excuse me, not that their fans wouldn't have been worried before these games anyway, but against a team like Tottenham, who didn't greatly threaten all that much and had, shots that were just blazing all over the place and not getting shots on target, you have to also question the decision of why does he put Michael Antonio up front, right? And let's have a look at the bench. So, forwards. So we've got 2 forwards here, three forwards, right? That didn't actually make it on the pitch. So you're going with someone who primarily plays more left-hand side, right-hand side type of player, playing him up front, all right, because he's quite physical. He is a bit of a tank, is Antonio. Yes, they brought Felipe Anderson on later on in the game and Lanzini as well. You've got the ability to make 5 substitutions in these games now, not just 3. And Mourinho did the same. He only made 3 substitutions, but the difference is his team won. But when you've got the likes of a Yarmolenko, this Ajeti and Silva as well, I can only assume the likes of Haller and I don't know if they have actually got another striker or not. I can only assume that they are their other strikers are injured. But you have these forwards, 1, 2, and 3 here. All right, Lanzini and Anderson could be classed as forwards as well. Fair enough. But why wouldn't you put strikers on, like recognised strikers? I don't. That's something that is absolutely baffling about David Moyes, is that he's gone with essentially like a winger type player, someone that's actually played right back for a long time as well, as his forward line leader. Don't necessarily understand it. Doesn't have the most inspired people behind him either, with Mark Noble. Fornals didn't have the best game. Obviously, Soucek gets a lower rating because of his own goal. I think it says a lot that their star player in the game, or the highest rated player, was Declan Rice, and they still lost 2-0. Very uninspiring by David Moyes, who is an uninspiring manager. And I don't mean to, I'm not slagging him off. That is literally just the facts of the matter. He is an uninspiring manager, and I don't foresee it getting any better for West Ham. So, unfortunately for West Ham fans, I think one of either Bournemouth or Aston Villa are now going to see this as a chance to be like, right, West Ham may actually be worse than us. We have to go and show that we can get results in our next games or up until the end of the season and just try and do better than West Ham, because as bad as the game was, because, you know, Tottenham are meant to be a top 6 team, where it leaves them 7th, 1 point behind both Wolves and Man United. They are on the tails of these guys. They are sneaking up on the top 4, top 5 at least. Top 4 might be insurmountable for Tottenham at this moment in time, but make no mistake, they're chasing down Wolves and Man United, and they're not going away anytime soon. Somehow, with the boring football that they play, they're getting up here. The fact that they've got more wins than Wolves genuinely surprises me. It really, really does. So maybe the Mourinho effect works, but it's just boring the way that they get there. Anyway, that is the end of these reviews. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the videos. If you have, please do like it and subscribe if you're new around here. Previews and everything like that for other games this week are coming, and also Liverpool versus Crystal Palace is already up on the channel, so feel free to check that one out as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.